The reason why you're being taken for granted is because you are taking yourself for granted. I could end the video right there, really. See, people come at people pleasing from the wrong place. They come at it a lot of the time from the place of it's the pleasing of others, which is the problem. It isn't the problem. The problem is your relationship with yourself, specifically how you are viewing yourself. If you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron. I run this channel, Unconscious Flow, where we use the unconscious and the conscious mind together to create the transformation that people actually want rather than just this incremental change, which a lot of the time is the standard for this industry for whatever reason. But like I said, I could have ended the video there. The reason I'm not, I think people, and this might be one of the first times that they're hearing this perspective, if you do a tally of your relationship with yourself, how is your relationship with yourself? You can pause the video right now and go ahead and do that. Because a lot of the time we are projecting in needing to be taken care of, needing security, needing to feel safe as the responsibility of the people around us. Now, obviously, there's some caveats here. If I'm in the middle of a favela, it's not just about feeling good within myself. There is an actual safety issue that I'm going to be encountering if I just walk around there as a gringo speaking English. Now, most of you are not in this situation. If you are, you should probably be watching some favela survival guide. You shouldn't be watching this video. Either we go like on one of two ways, like the first way, which I just said, where we think it's the pleasing, which is the issue, or maybe we blame other people. Oh, this person's just being a bitch, or this person is really snaky, or you can't trust these people, or these people are demanding perfection. All of that is a projection, most likely. Doesn't mean that this stuff isn't true. Here's the thing. It doesn't mean that that stuff isn't true. It doesn't mean that this person isn't a bitch. Doesn't mean that this person isn't a snake in the grass. Doesn't mean that this person isn't untrustworthy. Now, if this is the majority of your friend circle, or the majority of people that you're hanging out with, then again, the issue is most likely yourself. Because why are you attracting all these people? Why are you attracted to all these people? Maybe it is just a logistical issue. Maybe it is just because these are the only people around. However, that is very much the exception and not the rule. So again, it comes back to us, it comes back to our ownership, which is it's all about the relationship with ourselves. Once that changes, the way the world looks at us and the way that we look at the world becomes fundamentally different. Because I just want you to imagine this scenario. Someone who does feel good about their worth, someone who does feel like they are worth something, someone who does value their time or value their emotional experience, and someone who's very loving to themselves and to the world. How does that person operate compared to someone who doesn't respect themselves? What do their social relationships look like? Their romantic relationships look like? What does their social world look like as a whole? It's very different, even though they're the exact same person in the exact same scenario, in this scenario that we're imagining, okay? Even though they're all these things, and this is the only thing that's different. So, like with so many things, we need to make sure that we are asking the right question. Otherwise, we spend months, years, or even decades. A lot of my clients that I work with sadly have been in that position where they're just kind of spinning their wheels in this personal development, self actualization, hypnotherapy, shadow work kind of space because the questions we are asking are incorrect. They're not pointing us to the right direction. Once we learn how to ask the right questions, like what is my genuine relationship with myself? Then things can start to change. And for this specific scenario, okay, it won't be every scenario, but for this specific scenario, because this is what the video is about, I have a ton of other videos coming, 2 to 3 every week, as well as obviously all the backlog that you have on this channel. One of the big things that stops us from asking these kind of questions is because it makes us have to take on some kind of personal accountability, some kind of personal responsibility. And that, if we're already feeling overwhelmed, can feel quite overwhelming because we're adding responsibility. What responsibility is adding maturity and complexity to our life. It also gives us a much more agency and much more power. That's the flip side of it, because if you're responsible for something, then it means that you can do something about it. However, the benefit of not being responsible, not taking responsible, is you get to push it off onto others. Oh, it's just how other people treat me. It's just the way of the world to be competitive or whatever. Takes away complexity from us, but it also takes away our decision making. And what this causes is resentment. Every time that you're resentful to somebody, it's not actually because of that other person. It's because you are making concessions within yourself to this other person. So it always comes down to a massive, massive personal accountability. And I think the final part of this video, because it doesn't need to be too long, let's be honest, right? I've said what needs to be said. It's kind of a little bit more of an action plan, a little bit more of a game plan. Now, obviously, if this is something that's really interesting, if you've been following me for a long time, I have my one-on-one link to do one-on-one work below. Just starts off with a 15, 30-minute chat, which is no hard sales or no hard selling, where we just really get to know each other and actually get to know where you are on your journey. And I can take you through a game plan where we can actually solve these problems or solve a lot of problems, most likely together, one-on-one. But the game plan is this, is first of all, if you're trying to avoid taking responsibility, that's step one. It doesn't mean that we take responsibility for everything, right? It's like there's still slavery in the world. I'm not taking responsibility for that. Doesn't mean it like that. You're not taking responsibility that isn't yours. All you need to do is take agency. You take back your own agency from other people. Taking back a projection. You don't know what a projection is? I have a whole video series on projections and introductions and split ego states. Absolutely essential baseline understanding in order for you to actually heal and actually transform and not just spin your wheels in this space, okay? So I'll link that below. But a projection is basically when we have something that we don't like about ourselves and we project it onto the world. Or it can be a golden shadow. There can be something which we don't have. Like let's say that we're very risk adverse, okay? When we see someone taking the risk in real life, we're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And it's a golden projection. We turn it into something that's not. We turn it into something amazing simply because we don't have that faculty developed within us. But the most common projection or more common projection is, let's say we're not a risk taker. It's the same situation. And we see someone taking a risk and we say, oh, that person is so irresponsible. I can never trust that person. If you start bitching about that person, okay? That would be a projection. Well, the problem isn't this person who we don't know, who's not connected to us, and that isn't affecting our life in any way, taking risks. The problem is the fact that we don't take risks when we know that we should. And by not taking risks, that is the biggest risk. That's a projection. We're not taking ownership of that. Because once we do take ownership, it means we have to fix it. So, step number one, re-own the projection. Step number two is develop the relationship within yourself. I have a ton of stuff around this, okay, on my channel. You can go and you can look at it. But essentially what it comes down to is building a relationship of unconditional love to yourself. Doesn't mean that you let yourself off the hook. And let's say if you were to steal something from your friend and you were to feel guilt about that, that's not a shadow work issue. Guilt is part of a healthy emotional system in that respect. But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't unconditionally love ourselves after we realize that we made a mistake. Because by not doing that, first of all, it doesn't change anything. But second of all, it actually enables us to learn from our mistakes faster rather than beating ourselves up. We might think that beating ourselves up ensures it doesn't happen again, but then it just creates more self-loathing, more resentment towards ourselves. And when we're feeling like that, like when you feel bad, you're much more likely to make another mistake because you don't feel good. That's the second one. Start to develop a relationship with yourself. And then third one is this and only this is when we start to look at boundary setting. So more kind of like actual structural conversational boundary settings, like how to actually structure that in a conversation. And again, if this sounds interesting to you, this is one of the many things that I work on one-on-one. It's mainly shadow work. It's mainly with the unconscious mind, but I also have a very high level training in communication skills as well. Okay. Like I said, it's in my link below if you want to have a chat. But these are the 3 stages. Okay. Re-own the projection if you're projecting. Second, start to develop a practice of unconditional love within yourself. And I'm kind of glossing over this stuff because I have a ton of videos that I've already talked about this, and most likely a ton of videos that are going to come out that will talk about this. So this is more of a big picture game plan than like the nuts and bolts of how to actually do something. Although if you want to start to develop that state of unconditional love, then I would suggest Metta, loving kindness meditation, Metta meditation by the Dharma Sukha Foundation in America, okay? And then the third one, which is the thing that most people talk about first, which I don't think is the right way, is we actually start to talk about some a bit more techniques, a bit more tactics about how to actually boundary set in the real world. Like some actual more communication style, depending on the communication style of the person that you're talking to and the communication style that you have, right? That's also very important. But that's something which most likely I will talk about in a separate video if you guys are interested. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about, what you want me maybe to expand on. And if not, hopefully this video was helpful to you where you are right now. Enjoy.